Hello, everyone. My name is Bailey Grady. I live in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and I am your slightly under the weather facilitator for this evening. I caught some sort of a cold earlier this week, and we are on the mend. But if I clear my throat, if I get nasally, apologies in advance. I have been a member of Silk and Sonder since March of 2020, and I'm super excited to be here with all of you for our December monthly setup. If you are new to this community, welcome. In addition to these beautiful journals each month, you have also gained an extended community full of some of the most genuine and supportive people around. And if you're a longtime Sonderer like me, welcome back. You already know how special these journals are and all the magic hidden within our community. Tonight, we're going to be putting that pen to paper and getting these December journals ready for the month ahead. Before we get started, be sure that you have your December Silk and Sonder edition. If it hasn't come yet, that is okay. Don't panic. Just grab a notebook of any kind or a few pieces of paper to take some notes on, and then you can sort of just transfer your thoughts and different ideas when the journal arrives. But definitely grab, if you got a favorite pen or markers or colored pencils or anything to write with, and of course, your favorite beverage. I've got a nice big can of liquid death water here tonight with me. And more than anything, be ready to carve out some me time. You will be connecting with each other in the chat this evening. So if you haven't already, be sure that you have your responses in that little blue box there set to everyone so that we can all see what you have to share. A lot of the times it will flip over to host and panelist. And if you're sharing to that, not everyone will be able to see what you have to say. So I love seeing all the ideas you have and different ways we connect with each other. So if you are going to share tonight, just make sure that you have that flipped over to everyone. And I would also love to see how you spend your social this evening. So feel free to take some photos during or after the event tonight of you setting up your December edition. And feel free to post in the Sonder Club app or tag us on Instagram or TikTok at Silk and Sonder or hashtag Sonder Social. Also, speaking of taking pictures, as we go through tonight, if you want to take any screenshots or snap photos with your phone or anything like that, that is totally okay. And real quick, we'll start by reading our community guidelines here. So please be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Please respect everyone's privacy. And of course, no hate speech or bullying. If you would, please try to limit repetitive product and accessory questions here. We do want to be focused on our activities tonight. And then for certain inquiries, we'll redirect you over to customer care, to the HQ team over at hello@silkandsonder.com. I have the amazing Katie Gideon here with us tonight, all the way from Scotland, helping out in the chat. So good to have her here with us. Very excited. I hadn't got to see virtually Katie in a long time, so I'm super excited that she's helping us out tonight. But she and I do not have access to tracking numbers, subscription info, anything like that. So if you have questions about anything of that nature, we'll send you over to HQ and they will be able to help you out. And finally, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. It's always participate at your own comfort here at our events. For those of you that are new, you'll notice there's no option to turn your camera on. You don't have to worry about whether or not you're on mute. The only person that'll be on and having to worry about being on or off mute is me. So if you're here chilling in your PJs, we love that. If you're celebrating, you've got some fun things going on to get your setup ready, we're ready for that. If you just kind of want to chill and hang out and just jot down some tips and tricks, take it easy, that is fine too. Feel free to participate as much or as little in our activities and in the chat today. So here's our look at the agenda for the evening. For each of these sections, I'll be giving some guidance around ways you might complete your pages or your activities, and then putting on some music so you can take time to tackle them. So first, we'll be completing an opening activity together around our new theme of celebration, and then we'll be completing our November reflections, setting our December intentions, setting up our mood and habit trackers, and of course, learning tips and tricks from each other while sharing in the chat. So I would like to start our time together tonight by sharing some thoughts around our theme of celebration. And the first thing I want to do is refer to the monthly letter from Meha that's on page 2 of our journals. These letters are always a really wonderful place to start when embracing our theme each month. And this month especially, it's a great place to start because I really feel like Mayha nailed the reflection and invitations for this theme, specifically calling out some of the last few paragraphs here, which say, this December, I encourage you to look back 1 year, 1 month, 1 week, 1 day, and indulge in how far you've come. What exists in your life today that you can celebrate? What doesn't exist anymore? And what has been the gift of that cleared out space for you? Have you grown or changed? And in what ways can you celebrate this 2023 version of you? When we celebrate ourselves for who we really are, by embracing our scars and wounds and leaning into our confidence and strength, we learn to accept ourselves. And when we accept ourselves, we are truly unstoppable. Like a lot of people, I usually pick a word or a phrase to be my inspiration and grounding each year. And my word for 2023 was balance. And as November came to a close, I started to feel a little disappointed. I didn't hit a lot of the goals that I set for myself at the beginning of the year around this word. A lot of things didn't go as planned. I had like a book goal that I didn't come anywhere near reaching. I wanted to be a lot more active this year. And I think this year is probably the least active I have been in a very long time. I struggled to get going again and again. And I was beginning to think that I had let a whole year go by, like totally unbalanced. But then I read Mayha's opening letter and I realized something. Yes, things may have gone differently than I intended this year, and yes, I didn't hit all the goals I set out for myself. And yes, some things got left behind altogether. But that doesn't mean I lost focus or that I don't have a reason to celebrate because every bump along the road that has happened, I kept going and I kept trying. And while I didn't hit those goals I set for myself in January, I hit so many new ones that popped up along the way this year. Some of the new goals I chose and other things were things that came up and they were important to address, whether I wanted to or not. So things don't have to go 100% like we planned for there to be success. Heck, they can change altogether and there will still be reason to celebrate. Sometimes the reason to celebrate is simply that we're still here, we're still trying, and that we have a new day, a new week, a new month, a new year to start fresh and continue to work with ourselves, on ourselves, for ourselves. So sometimes a plant can take years to grow before it blooms or produces fruit, but every year there's still growth. And oftentimes the growth we can't see, that stuff that happens beneath the surface, that's the most important growth of all. So, like Meha, I encourage you to look back with kindness, with patience, and with love, and to find all things big and small, fun and important, triumphs and learnings to celebrate. And in the spirit of welcoming in celebration, let's go ahead and turn to a blank page or space in your journal as we begin our opening activity. So again, no specific place for this. Just use any of the many blank pages in the journal, or if you're somebody that fills in all those little nooks and crannies, if you want to use your thoughts journal, if you have one of those, or a different journal, or an extra piece of paper, doesn't matter. What we are going to do is we're going to reflect on a recent accomplishment or task you completed, and it can be big or small. Imagine yourself receiving an award for it. What would you say? Who would you give the speech to? Jot down some words or sentences to thank yourself for your accomplishment and celebrate your win. So, and I'll pop back over to that slide with the prompt for you as well. So for some inspiration here, I've got a list of things that you can thank yourself for if you're needing a little bit of inspiration. And then what I did for mine is I said, I want to thank me for not taking the first answer, the second, the third, or any of the others. When I knew that there was something physical causing my lack of energy. I want to thank myself for all the research, the phone calls, the appointments, and the vulnerability it took to finally get the answers and care I deserved all along. Continuing to pursue answers in the face of a full life, packed schedule, and doubting experts is hard, but I honored myself and my body by continuing to ask questions and never giving up on what I felt on my own. So again, this could be something super small. It could be a big thing that happened. It could be something that happened this week or something that happened this year. But definitely take a moment to think about something that you can thank yourself for and write that acceptance speech. So While you all work on that, we would love for you to share in the chat if you feel comfortable. I'll put on some music for you, and then we'll get into our setup. Hey, thank you so much for completing this activity and for sharing in the chat if you felt comfortable. I hope that you found this helped you to welcome in our new theme. And I just have to say that you all are incredible. There is just so much strength and resilience in our chat tonight. And it honestly is like a little overwhelming in the best way. If you didn't have something that came to you immediately on this, that's okay. There's no time limit on this. Just because we're moving on doesn't mean that you can't come back to this later when you feel ready. We're going to share a link at the end of where you can find all the socials recorded at a later time. So you can always come back to this if nothing jumped out to you right away. But we are now going to move into our main event, the December monthly setup. And we will be starting with reflections for November, which is on page 8. And as November comes to a close, we have the lovely ritual of starting fresh with our new edition by reflecting on what the last month has taught or brought us. And each theme is a chance to engage with a new part of ourselves and be open to the growth that this new exploration may bring. So again, go ahead and flip to page 8 if you have your journal. If you're still waiting on yours, that's okay. Again, just take down some notes and then you'll be ready to transfer it over when it comes. So for the next few minutes, we'll be taking time to reflect on November, writing down our wins, challenges, favorite moments, and things we want to stop, start, and continue. A reminder, as we begin engaging with our journals, this journal is yours and yours alone. It isn't for anyone else, so please write freely, be honest, and interpret things however they speak to you. There is no right or wrong way to do any of this. There is only your way, and that's the only way that matters. Your journal is a space for you to be authentically you, no matter how messy or structured that may be. So use the space to be yourself as we say goodbye to November and move into December. So I tend to take my journal pretty literally, focusing in on actual events, goals, and stumbles. But with last month's theme of nostalgia, you might like to focus your reflections specifically through that lens. And if you're having a hard time remembering last month, I know I do sometimes. I mean, sometimes I can't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday. Try looking back through your pictures in your phone or your calendar appointments, because that may help to jog your memory. You can see on the screen, we've got sort of some examples about your start, stop, and continue, your wins, your challenges, and some tips and things like that. And then up on the screen currently is my page 8. So you're welcome to read through that if you'd like, but I will put on some music for you and then we'll move on into our next section in just a few minutes. Welcome back. Thank you all so much for taking the time to reflect back on November and for sharing in the chat if you are comfortable. We are now going to segue into December intentions on page 9 of our journal. So, starting fresh and thinking about how we want to grow or what our goals are for this upcoming month. Or what we think they might be. And you can keep in mind that theme of celebration if you want to, and think about how you might invite yourself to lean into the theme with your intentions this month. Our intentions are broken down into the following categories, but feel free to change some of them if they don't speak to you. We are all about making this journal work for you in your life. So if one of these categories doesn't fit, just change it. What comes printed in the journal is spiritual health, personal life, physical health, key relationships, money management, and professional goals. And as the top of the page says, setting intentions is not making a to do list. It's asking something of yourself and then giving yourself the strength to do it. It's important to let go of that pressure of perfection and use the ideas that work for you. So, with this in mind, we wanted to share some examples for inspiration of how you might use this page for yourself. You can again use that theme of celebration as you set your intentions this month. You can focus on one area, such as self love or self talk. You can use the name of or lyrics of a song or a quote that brings you inspiration. What you want to accomplish in each category, of course. And you can try using stickers or pictures or images in each section. And you can try writing one thing you want to let go of, or one thing you want to start doing, or something you want to stop doing, whichever. So I'm about to share a lot of examples. And when I do, when I put on music for you all to do these pages yourself, I'll go kind of back and through all of these slides. So if you miss one, it's okay. It's going to come back around. So here are some examples of like, if you decided to do pictures, you could kind of like pick a theme. I've always liked getting really creative in this area. So you could pick a theme and then pick little pictures that go with the themes. Or you can just start using like quotes, leaning into the theme of the journal for the month for inspiration, or again, song lyrics, anything like that, or just a single word. Sometimes one single word is the only reminder or intention that you need. And then here's a few more examples. I especially like the one on the right where they decided to start each area with I intend statements. I want to say that might have been Brenda's. And then here are a few more examples. And actually, just kidding, this is mine. So for this month, I've decided to give myself some action phrases for each category. So for spiritual health, I have lean in. For personal life, I have slow down. For physical health, I have be kind. And key relationships, be present. Money management, share the load. And then professional goals, be curious. And all of my pages are probably going to have little frozen stickers on them this month, because when I chose my word of balance for this year, I wanted to be balanced like Anna and Elsa. So as I'm bringing the year to a close, coming full circle, I had to use some of my frozen stickers. So again, I will cycle through all of these examples, all of these slides, while I give you a few minutes to work on this page for yourself. And when you're done setting up your intentions, if you're comfortable, share in the chat what came up for you or what your goals are, and we'll see you in just a few minutes. Welcome back again. I always love seeing what you all share in the chat. Like most of us, I have a set of intentions every month and I don't always meet them. But the point of intentions isn't to conquer each box, it's to set the idea of what you think you might want over the next 30 days and then notice how those desires evolve. Flexibility is everything, and it's a part of what makes intentions so beautiful. I saw lots of kind of interconnecting intentions and goals in the chats, and a few of you that sort of inspired others or kind of gave like an aha moment to others. And I always love to see that. It's one of the things that makes attending socials in person and being able to hang out in the chat really special. So, thank you all again for sharing. So with our intention set, we will now be moving into our trackers for December. So our mood tracker and our habit tracker, starting with our mood tracker. These are some of my favorite pages in the journal, especially when I was getting started with Silk and Sonder. Some months I only did these pages and the journal prompts, and that was it. And I still got so much from my journal every single time. So again, tonight, we're starting with that mood tracker. So go ahead and turn to page 10 of your journal. Utilizing a mood tracker can allow us to understand trends and how we feel so that we can take notice and begin making shifts. And when combined with other trackers and journaling, our mood tracker can also help us notice habits or external forces that may be having a positive or negative impact on our emotional health. And from there, we can hopefully make changes to focus on the things that bring more positive days. So for this evening, I'll be sharing this feelings wheel. This is a great resource on identifying which moods you may want to track. So looking at the wheel, there are 6 main categories. There's fear, anger, sadness, surprise, joy, and love. And I'll bring this wheel back in a second. But first, let's talk about how to set up this page traditionally. So you can pick one emotion from each section of the feelings chart. You could focus on 1 to 2 areas of the chart to really sort of dive deep into 1 or 2 different emotion families. Or with that theme of celebration this month, you can select emotions that resonate to that theme for you. And then when you're filling in your mood tracker, you can fill in every emotion that came up that day, which is how I used my tracker in the beginning, or just fill in whatever emotion was the strongest. Maya, one of our other facilitators, I know she started setting like an alarm on her on her phone, I think, to where like midday she checks in with this page and does things so that way she sort of like stays consistent when she's like checking in on her mood. So maybe think about doing something like that if that sounds good to you. But remember, this is all about what works for you, and our members use this page in a variety of ways. So the canvas is yours to fill, which means you can take these tips and tricks and run with them, or you can choose to do something completely different. So, for example, when I started using my mood tracker to focus on my anxiety levels about 2 years ago, it was really beneficial for me. It helped me notice what was working, what wasn't, and celebrate how far I came. I started using it in conjunction with my habit tracker too, and I was able to kind of see what habits actually had an impact on my anxiety and which ones were not having an impact so that I could sort of make better choices there. When I use this for anxiety, the words I used to track were none, low, scattered, moderate, high, and panic. Earlier this year, I noticed my anxiety becoming less frequent, and I was better able to identify my moods and emotions that were previously sort of shrouded in varying levels of panic. But I was dealing with a new issue, which was low energy. So I started tracking that. And you can see over on the right, I used exhausted, sleepy, sluggish, foggy, average, and peppy for my energy levels. And thanks to some amazing doctor who finally listened to me, I no longer feel the need to track my energy. So I started to do something new last month. I started tracking one word, which quickly became one phrase because I could not stick to a single word each day. And I loved it so much that I decided to go with it again this month. So that's what I'm doing this month. I'm just going to have one phrase for each day and see how it goes. I think eventually I'll be able to kind of pair it with the habit tracker and some other things in my journal to kind of see maybe if there's any sort of like pattern of like, oh, does this activity impact this and that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to see how it develops. But here are some other ways you can repurpose or refocus your mood tracker. You could use it for daily affirmations, of course, anxiety levels, like I mentioned before, or something different like depression, or if you struggle with anything medical that you need to track on a daily basis, or of course, like a scale of 1 to 6 on a certain feeling. So angry, tired, joyous, celebrated, right? Um, and then here are some other examples of how people have set up their trackers. So there's a relaxation tracker. Somebody turned it into like Peloton stuff. Somebody used it as like a mood tracker, but they turned it into this cute little garden, which was really pretty. And then somebody decided to just use like the 6 main emotion categories and listed a couple of different emotions in those categories. So turning their habit tracker wheel into an emotions wheel. And then here is that emotions wheel again. So again, I'll cycle through all these examples as you work on your pages. And once you set up your mood tracker or whatever tracker you decide to make it, let us know in the chat how you decided to go with this, or what emotions that you're picking, and then we'll see you again in a few minutes. Okay. Thank you all for taking the time to complete your mood tracker or to transform it into some other tracker or some other page. Like I mentioned before, these tracker pages were some of my favorites when I first started. We are now going to move into our other tracker page, which is our habit tracker. So just flip it over to that next page there. And when we use a habit tracker, it can help us start to form new habits, stop doing habits that don't serve us, and hopefully continue habits that bring value. Also, sorry, I put a cough drop in, so that's what's happening here. Here are a few tips and tricks to consider for your habit tracker. You can use the theme of celebration as your focus, making selections this month. You can focus on one area or theme like getting better sleep, staying grounded, being calm or present, etc. You could consider tying these habits into your intentions potentially if you like. If you tracked habits last month that worked well for you, you can choose to continue those same ones into this month. Remember, you don't have to fill up every line of this wheel. You can just pick a few and leave the rest. Try to find a balance between habits you know you can do and ones that maybe be a little trickier or a little bit of a stretch or a challenge. So, here are a few people that have set up their habit tracker. I really love this really bright, pretty, colorful one that's sort of like a mandala theme. I used to love to do those. And they definitely are super fun when you get them all filled in. I know that for me, what I have found is works best is to keep it simple. So that's what I do with mine now. But for a while, I used to do the mandalas, and they're so fun. I also like this other one that's a little bit more simple, and you can see that they have sort of outlined the weekends there. Because I know for a lot of us, our weekends or like our days off or like our breaks in our routine can look really different with our habits and stuff. So sometimes it can be good to mark those out on the calendar during like the Thanksgiving holiday. I marked out like the like actual holiday break in addition to um the actual weekends and stuff like that. I do the same thing if I go out of town and things like that. So also, let me see here. Going on to the next one here. So keep in mind when you're setting up your page, it's a habit tracker, not a habit to-do list, but a tracker. So you can check off every space, and if you can, that's awesome, but it's also okay if you don't. Seeing what works and what doesn't work for us or what we're struggling with can be just as insightful and as important as actually doing the habit. So like here you can see my November tracker on the left and then my December tracker on the right. And when looking at November, you can see a lot of little dashes, which means I didn't do my habit that day. And I'm not surprised by that. This time of year, with the crazy weather and the lack of sunlight, it's hard for me. And reflecting on the last month helps me make my selections of what to track this month. And you can see that some habits, like my tech Sabbath, I even have placed for specific days only. Like I said, I do best when I just make things simple. And so I just use a little symbol to track each habit. So I'm continuing to do that this month. And my habit this month are water, physical care. I really like the phrasing of that because for me, that means like physical care could look like stretching. It could look like taking a full shower where I do all of the scrubby things and actually get in there, right, and scrub the hair and all that. Or it could look like moving my body, right? So giving myself some options there. Medications for taking all my meds and my vitamins and things. Tidy because I now have the energy to sort of do that again. And there are some areas in my house that need some love. No eating out, bed by 11 o'clock. And then again, my tech Sabbath, which I will do once each week. So in addition to this monthly habit tracker, there's also smaller habit tracker in each weekly section of the journal. So there's flexibility and room to grow throughout the month. And there's also a mind body health plan and other things in the weekly section that if you want to, you can kind of incorporate as a part of your monthly habits. So this is an old wheel of mine where for a while I wanted to do one of my weekly habits each day. So it kind of gave me like a rotating habit because my weekly habits could change week to week, but then it kind of gave me like a free different space on my monthly tracker. And then one time I was trying to focus in on getting different areas of rest and things. So I was tying that into the types of rest and the health plan. So if you're somebody that loves to tie in different areas of the journal, this is something just to consider potentially. And if you're not sure if something should be a monthly habit or a weekly habit, I usually recommend thinking of a monthly habit as something you want to track each day. And a weekly habit is something you just track every few days or that you only want to focus on for that specific week. But my tech Sabbath habit is set for one day each week. It's not every day. And that's okay. It helps me to see it coming up in like the overall habit wheel each day. So I kind of be mindful of it as it approaches, like thinking about, oh, okay, like on Saturday, I'm going to take a break for this. So maybe I will go ahead and check out that page, or maybe I will send that person a message or whatever the deal is, because my break is coming up. And when I do my little break from my tech Sabbath, which is where I just take a break from my phone and social media from sundown to sundown on one day to sun up of the next day. I know I'm going to be taking that like step back and stuff. So it helps me to have it there on the wheel. And likewise, like we said before, you can fill in every line of the habit tracker like I did, or you can just fill in a few. And then here are some more habit tracker ideas if you're looking for some inspiration. If you want to fill in a few more lines but are not sure what you want to put there, maybe this can help with that. So I'll put on some more music for us. And again, I'll go back and forth all of these slides for you. And then we will wrap up our time together. It always goes by fast, even with the extra time. Okay. Thank you for setting up your habit tracker. It's always neat to see what people are tracking and notice that many of us are being curious about the same habits. I love seeing everyone's reflections, intentions, and tracker setups for December. I hope to see some updates from you all in Sonder Club later this month as we continue to embrace our theme of celebration further. Speaking of Sonder Club, one final thing I wanted to share tonight is just some of the different things you can find in the Sonder Club app. There's been so much stuff added in there over the last year or so. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of everything that's in there. So I thought this would be a good time to go over some of it. So on your home page of the app, you've got your daily affirmations, there's a daily ritual prompt, and then a personalized journaling prompt. In the library section, you'll find like mini meditations and featured collections of daily rituals. And then in the club section, not only can you check in on discussions in the community board, but there's also a little how-to section where you can find like quick videos and diving into different parts of your journal and tons of examples and inspiration from different pages from the Sonder fam. So if we didn't get to a page tonight that you were like, oh, I was hoping I'd see some examples, or I was looking for something different, maybe try hopping into the app because the examples might be in there and you might find your perfect match in there. And then lastly, on the game tabs, there'll be fun bingos for the month or the season, and then quizzes to take as well. And like Katie said, we know the app isn't for everyone always and forever, like pen to paper. That's me. I'm not on the app quite a lot myself. But it can be like a helpful tool. And sometimes it's nice to just know what's in there if you're like me and you're not in there all the time. So with that said, if you are in the app and you would like to share your journal, we would love to see it. The other people in the Sonder fam would love to see it. So feel free to share. We'd love to see your journals and examples if you feel comfortable. And then finally, we have our little link slide here. So the Fin program is still going on. If you refer somebody to Silk and Sonder, they'll get $10 off. You'll get $10 off, and then you can do socials together. If you're able to upgrade to an annual subscription, it can save you some monies. So definitely look into that. And then we have a new social feedback survey. So if you will, fill that out for us. If you've been with us for a while, socials used to look very different. And all the changes and things that we do are based directly off of your feedback. So if you have some time, definitely please fill that out for us. And then I will pop my link to the playlist in the chat for you all so that you have that if you like it. It's on Spotify, so definitely feel free to follow it, make your own playlist from it, whatever you would like to do. And again, thank you for joining us this evening. We had so much fun and we're feeling excited about the invitation to celebrate together this month. I hope you feel the same way. And until next time, be good to each other and we'll see you in the next Sonder Social.
We were leaving for the stratosphere. Easy breathing in your atmosphere. Oh, how could I? How could I ever forget last year when we were on top? When we were on top of the world, when we were on top, when we were on top of the world, the seasons don't stop, the axis forgot to twirl, when we were on top of the world. Send me flying like a rocketeer without trying.